So, second Corinthians. Hey guys, welcome back for another kickoff to this week with 2 Corinthians as we are picking it back up with chapter 8 today. It's Paul continuing on in his instruction to the church at Corinth about giving, the grace of Christ, and then helping others. Thanks for joining us today. Let's go ahead and get it started. This is the Bible Vlog. One of the biggest struggles in churches today is really no different than it was when Paul was writing to these churches back then: money. Now, a lot of people in church get uncomfortable when you talk about the topic of giving. Sometimes people think that the church is just after their money, or they're worried that the money that they give will be mishandled or maybe spent improperly. And the truth is that these are legitimate concerns and even something that Paul himself dealt with when it came to the topic of giving. Now, at the time of this writing, there were many poor believers at Jerusalem, and something that Paul insisted on was that those who were better off financially had an obligation to help their fellow believers who were less fortunate. Now, similarly today, people in church will often give to missionary work or charities that provide food and shelter to those in need. So this was really the earliest version of that type of ministry, but it was one that Paul placed a great emphasis on. Look at verses 1 through 5. Moreover, brethren, we make it known to you the grace of God bestowed on the churches of Macedonia, and their deep poverty abounded in the riches of their liberty. For I bear witness that according... like a shotgun out here. It's like all the birds want to gather around when I'm teaching the Bible. It's for them, not you. That in a great trial of affliction, the abundance of their joy and their deep poverty abounded in the riches of their liberty. For I bear witness that according to their ability, yes, and beyond their ability, they were freely willing, imploring us with much urgency that we would receive the gift and the fellowship of the ministering to the saints. And not only as we had hoped, but they first gave themselves to the Lord and then to us by the will of God. Now, something important to understand about the churches in Macedonia that Paul refers to here is that they were not considered rich or well off by any means. In fact, since the founding of the churches there, they were regularly persecuted. Yet they took Paul's instruction about giving to heart and not only gave, but they gave joyfully. Now that is literally putting your money where your mouth is. It's a demonstrable action that says, God, I trust you are my source and you will provide for me, so I'm going to give and help others. Now Paul also makes another really powerful point here about Jesus himself, so look at verse 9. For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sakes he became poor, that you through his poverty might become rich. Now, when Paul says Jesus was rich, he doesn't mean he was born into a wealthy family or had great material possessions. What he's saying is that before Jesus was born as a baby in Bethlehem, he already had an eternal status as Lord of heaven and earth. He became poor by a total giving of himself to be born into this world and ultimately then sacrifice his own life for ours. Now, Paul is pointing to this fact that there is no better example of self-giving than Jesus himself. So when Paul is asking the churches to help give to those in need, he's asking for far less than what Jesus himself was willing to do. All right, finally skip ahead just a little bit and look at verses 20 through 22. Avoiding this, that anyone should blame us in this lavish gift which is administered by us, providing honorable things not only in the sight of the Lord, but also in the sight of men. And we have sent with them our brother, whom we have often proved diligent in many things, but how much more diligent because of the great confidence which we have in you. Again, Paul shows concern for avoiding any type of criticism when it comes to how the money given will be taken care of. And this is very wise on Paul's part. Listen, if you work in a church or are in charge of overseeing how funds are spent for a ministry, it's very important to be able to give an accounting of it. Guys, there is no other thing that will trip up a ministry faster than a financial scandal where money is being improperly used. But in this case, Paul shows that it's not just him alone taking in money, but Titus, who was an assistant of him, as well as other men who are trusted in overseeing it. Ultimately, the major point that Paul is trying to make here is to give out of an attitude of abundance and not scarcity. Know that God will provide for you when you diligently give to those in need and then allow yourself to be used as a channel to bless others. All right, guys, well, that is it for us today with chapter 8. Amazing how even issues back then are still issues that we face today. Things change, but in many ways they also stay the same. Well, thank you as always for being here. Hope you're having an amazing day wherever you may be watching this from. Know that on this end, someone is thinking of you and praying for you today, and ultimately, God loved you enough to send Jesus. Come back tomorrow for chapter 9. Until then, you all be good. Go out today and tear it up. I will see you back here tomorrow.